Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Two.
Private joke.
I'll tell you a little bit more later.
Yeah. So how are you guys holding up without us? Say really bad.
Well, there's a big bag of parts here that really need your attention.
Yeah, I hope so. Makes me feel good that I'm needed. So just give us an overview of what you've been working on since we were gone. We'll fill them in what we were all working on while we were there. And so also you're kind of a couple of weeks from wrapping it up and coming back. So what do you foresee that you want to get done and that kind of thing?
Well, we finished up our math competition, and we did a big recognition for the children. That was great. Mm-hmm. And I'm just now trying to wrap up all my paperwork. And also, we're arranging for our 7th grade students to a secondary school and visit.
Okay. We'll explain that. What was the thing about the kids that you did with the kids there?
Rewards.
Rewards, okay. You did rewards for them for their math?
Yeah.
Okay. We can expound on that when we tell about what we were doing there. And John, you've got your equipment running at a sustainable level now?
Yeah, for the moment anyway. So put the AVR and some brushes back in the generator. Finally figured out how to get the piston shoved back in here. So that thing's working again. So pretty happy with that. Was able to use it down at the kitchen to do some plastic pipe work, I guess. So you need that for there's a way that you can melt plastic pipes together that we use. So really needed the generator for that. So all that's working pretty good. We've got water hooked up to the new boys' bathroom now. And so just getting things ticked up the list.
Okay, I was going to ask you about if you've started using the new stoves in the kitchen yet?
We've burned in the first one, and when we get some more time so that we can spend about 12 over 14 hours doing it, we'll start working on the other ones as well.
Okay, good.
We've got guys in there working right now, building the calendar and getting ready for sailing.
Okay. We'll explain that as well to people. And then the boys' bathroom, you say you have water hooked up and the building is more or less complete, or what?
No, just got just tapped into the black pipe coming down the hill, and so have a new pipe shoved up into the bathroom with a 1-inch ball valve shut off. So it's ready to be plumbed when the building's ready for that step.
All right, so I'll share more about that as well when we disconnect. Anything else? What can we pray for you guys in the next? And when are you planning to come back?
We go to Kampala or to Entebbe 2 weeks from tonight. So we got 2 more weeks. Pray for our health, for John's back, my back, and we're arranging for a social worker to visit Pofia. And you can tell them about Pofia, and hopefully they're going to be able to take her and work with her and get her a home. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's great.
That's a good.
Yeah, I'll share more about that.
Okay, we will be praying for you guys. We appreciate what you're doing. Miss you. Look forward to seeing you here in a few weeks.
Okay.
Yes,
So
we will.
we'll see in a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys.
Let's pray for John and Kimberly now. And Father, we thank you for what you've laid on their hearts, the vision that you've given them in this little community there in Uganda. Thank you that our family, all of us here in this church, are a part of that vision and that work of yours in some way, in prayer, in giving, in contributing, in going and helping. And it's a privilege to do your work, Lord, and we thank you for just the vision that you've given through John and Kimberly. And we ask that you will sustain them physically in the next few weeks. I know that their backs have been giving them trouble, and it's at times frustrating to have to stop what's important to just rest your body. And so strengthen them, Father. Give them mercy in that regard, we ask. And thank you for the relationships that they have developed with their staff there. And we ask that you would continue to bless those relationships, mature their staff in you and in best practices to guide the kids and educate the kids at their school there. Pray for Hannington, especially with his oversight and leadership of that staff, especially when John and Kimberly are gone. That just thank you for him, Lord. He's got a great spirit and lots of wisdom. So we ask that you would continue to guide his hand in this ministry. Thank you again, Lord, for your provision to do the work that you have laid upon their hearts to do. And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, JJ. 1.
2.
All right. Thank you, guys. You're great.
See you guys later.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of that stuff you won't understand, but we'll try to enlighten you a little bit about what one means and that kind of thing. We had some fun there, too. Amy, would you like to take it away?
I'm working on it here.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, good.
So we have a bunch of pictures that we're going to show as we talk. Each of us will tell a little bit. Amy has a lot of the best information about preparation, and so we're going to kind of start with that and work into going and getting there and what we did and what God's doing there. Go for it.
Okay. So first of all, I just want, for those of you that aren't familiar with who John and Kimberly are, they run a mission called In the Field Ministries. And the focus is they have a primary school in a tiny little village in Uganda, in Nabisoto. And there's a medical clinic, they have a nurse there. And they are in the process of building girls' and boys' dorm to provide boarding for some of the children that are attending. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, right?
Can I expound on the boarding thing a little bit? So it's a day school right now. The kids are just coming from the surrounding community. The village is very dispersed. It's a rural area, very agricultural. And so it's not like there's a bunch of houses in one block area or anything like that. You're walking the size of Cle Elum probably is the area of the village, and it's mostly agricultural fields with a house here and a house there and so on. So kids are coming from this community. It's very rural, very poor, and they're getting their water from the swamp and that kind of thing. You'll see some of that. Some of the families are desperate situations, not good. And so their desire is to rescue some of these kids that are in desperate situations and have them come live in the dorms at the school so they can care for them better. In order to do this, facilitate it, they're building a boys' dorm and a girls' dorm that can hold, I don't know, maybe if you crammed them in there, 30, 40 kids.
And we'll show some pictures in a little bit.
And they desire to bring some kids from the city to be boarded at the school that will pay enough fees that will help cover costs to board some of the local kids that they're trying to rescue. It's a pretty common thing to do something like that in Uganda. The public schools are not that great, and so lots of families desire to send their children to private schools like this one, and they're willing to pay fees to do that. And so it's a tent-making model, have the people that are able and desiring to board their kids for the better education help pay for the kids they want to rescue locally.
So I think our church is really blessed to have John and Kimberly, they're in the field, they're right there, and for us to just have access to them and access to that, whether it is to pray for them or donate money or actually go. So I think our church body is just blessed to have them in our midst and as members of our church. So our focus today is not really, we had a great, wonderful, rewarding experience, but it's really not about us, okay? But we want to share with you about what we experienced and what it's like there, so you can kind of have a more secondhand knowledge, I guess, about it, and then getting a better idea of how maybe each of you can be involved in this ministry, okay? So we've been wanting to go for, I would say, a couple years now, but I've never felt led by the Lord to go until this year. It worked out with scheduling, with John's work, my work, kids' schedules, and that kind of thing. So, we prayed about it. We talked with John and Kimberly about going and decided, yes, we're going to go this time when they were there. And they were able to work their schedules with our schedules, and it all worked out. So that's the first thing is, you pray about going. And then second thing is we met with John and Kimberly. They came to our house and they asked us, what do you want to do? What do you think you can do there? What are your envision? And so each of us had, even the kids had some ideas of what they wanted to do while there. John would be more kind of helping John with facilities. I have a background in special education, so I really wanted to work with those kids that maybe needed some more assistance in that area. Shayla and Josiah wanted to really just spend a lot of time with the kids there and interact with them and help out, in the school and just form relationships with them as well. So that was kind of our idea. Getting ready to go, of course, we bought plane tickets. And then one thing that we had to do was, look at our medical records. And we had to get shots. So here's John. Fortunately, the kids, have had child appointments, and they were actually really up to date on their shots. The only thing they had to do was get a yellow fever shot, and I had a yellow fever shot back when I visited John in Africa 7 years ago, so they were so good. So I just had to get an MMR shot updated, but John, how many shots did you have to get?
I'd get 5. It was kind of surprising because, I've traveled all over the world all my life, but I haven't been anywhere in 26 years, and so,
He never goes to the doctor, so. So they recommended that he get a bunch of shots. So that was one thing.
The process is pretty straightforward. If you're getting ready to do something like this, we can enlighten you, and Costco makes it easy.
Yeah, we had to do it through a Costco travel. Yeah, of all things, right? Costco in Redmond is where we had to go to get things done. So, and then we also got our visa. Actually, I think the visa process was super easy. It's all online. It was very kind of straightforward, very easy to do. And then something else that we did as a church, if you guys remember, is that Coral, Iola, and I came up with some Sunday school lessons for, there's a teacher there named Dan, Teacher Dan, and he does the whole children's ministry while there. And when he does children's ministry, it's like one class with, 18-month-old up to age 16, okay? Yeah, it's quite the gamut of kids. So what we did, to hopefully help them out is, we came up with some lessons, and then a bunch of the kids in the church helped us put them together, and we came up with enough materials for 50 kids for each lesson. Okay, so this picture shows us getting together for a couple hours and working on that. So hopefully he's blessed by that. So another thing is, so because we were going, you're allotted 2 suitcases or luggage per person, and so Kimberly and John have these big boxes of 50-pound boxes, one for each of us. So we got to take 4 boxes, which is different for us for traveling. We're used to one little suitcase, so we had these big boxes to go, but it was great. And so donations that you guys make, whether it's the socks or the books that I took over, I got to take over, gosh, probably 120 books that you guys donated for the program. Those were in those boxes. So they had 3 boxes ready to go before they left, and then the last box was stuff that you guys gave me to take over, plus a few other things that they had asked me to take as well. Okay, so the next thing is, here we go, we're traveling, right? So we go to Seattle, and there's our boxes and our suitcases on the conveyor belt ready to go. Super simple. We flew straight from Seattle to Dubai, and it's a 14 and a half hour flight. I know some people cringe at it, but it's actually, you know, the entertainment system is amazing in those seats. So you watch lots of movies, and you take a short nap here and there. John takes longer naps because he can sleep on the plane better. But it's not that bad, okay? You can get up and move around, and, you know, they feed you. And so 14 and a half hours sounds like a long time, you know? Maybe those with back problems and issues, it would be a little bit harder. But it's not too bad, okay? So, right? No? Yeah.
You guys just, what'd you do on the plane the whole time?
Well, I tried sleeping, that didn't work.
Yeah, that didn't work. So
Yeah.
what did you really do? You just watch movies, right?
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah,
movies.
you watch like 4 or 5 movies, okay? Get caught up, right? So then we got to Dubai, and as you can see, it was, what time was it? 10:51 p.m., and it was 88 degrees. Super hot. But they have a great program there where they call it Dubai Connect, and when you land, there's this, as part of Emirates, they put you on a little bus and they take you to a hotel, and the hotel is free and the bus there is free, and then they have a meal there and a meal in the morning. It's all included. But we did actually pay for a bus tour of Dubai. It was like a 2.5 hour bus tour, and it takes us at 11 o'clock at night. You know, we're on a different time schedule anyway, and we wanted to see Dubai, and this was our chance to see it. So got on the bus, and it took us all around Dubai, and you got off in a few stops to take pictures and stuff. So this was one of the swanky hotels there. They're known for their very expensive hotels, and I think the minimum price for a hotel a night was $500 or something like that. The minimum? Huh?
It's like 800.
What?
800.
$800 is what Shayla says, up to like $2,500 a night. We didn't stay there. Okay, so then from Dubai, so in the morning we got on a plane, and it's about a 5-hour flight to Entebbe, which is just outside of the capital, right, of Kampala. So we got there at about 1 o'clock, got our boxes. Took a little while, but we found them all, and they were all intact, barely, and our suitcases. And then once we left there, we went out of the terminal, and Kimberly and John were waiting for us, so we were excited about that. And then from there, it's about depending on the traffic in Kampala, and we'll talk a little bit more about traffic there, which is kind of interesting. About a two-hour drive to Nabi Soto. Okay, so Hannington, their manager, met us, and then Kimberly and John, and actually Maggie was there too. She's a 19-year-old. This is her 4th year in a row going to Nabi Soto. She loves it so much that she is trying to come every year. And the first 2 years she came with her mom. The previous time, she did it by herself. And she was there for about a month. So she was there for a couple weeks before we got there, and then we were there for 2 weeks. And she was there for the first week, and then she left. Passionate girl, loves those kids so much. It's so fun to see her interacting with them. But yeah, once you start going, it's like you want to keep going just because of the relationships. You want to see how the kids are doing, and you just want to be there. Okay, so Uganda, John, maybe you can talk about
Sure.
just a little bit.
So, little map of Uganda there. Lake Victoria is a huge lake, and a lot of these names are English because of the English exploration in the 1800s and prior, and colonization of many of these countries. And consequently, also English is well spoken throughout the Uganda, and all the kids' schooling is done in English as well. And so that facilitated our helping there. To the east of Uganda is Kenya, where I spent years before, and you land there at Entebbe. You can see it at the bottom of the map. The airport's right there on the edge of Lake Victoria, and Kampala's an hour drive up to the north, and we were heading to the northwest, where you have to skirt the edge of Kampala and go up to this area near Busunju, but Nabisoto just doesn't show up on
It doesn't show up on the map if you Google it. It's not there.
And so between this is about a 2-hour drive, and most of the way you're on a 2-lane highway, traffic, going in each direction, and lots of activity, trading centers. There's some traffic there, and that's what it's like about half of the distance, where it's just chaos on the road.
It's total chaos.
Once you get further out from the city, there's less chaos on the road, but starting right on the edge of the road is businesses and trading, and it's chaos right on the shoulders of the road.
Yeah.
So
I'll show some pictures.
we were happy not to drive there, actually.
So a Boda Boda is actually a motorcycle taxi, and they carry a lot of other things, as you can see. So these are all pictures that John or I took, or the kids. And seriously, if you count up in the upper left corner, there's actually 5 people on that motorcycle. And they're going everywhere, zooming. So that's kind of, what it's like there.
Fortunately, the speeds are generally not that high, so if you bump into somebody, hopefully it's not. We did see a few accidents, and it was just damage to the vehicles, not the people.
Yeah, so these are bicycles. So bicycle is a big form, except for the bottom right, he's carrying a bicycle. But yeah, I mean, they use it as their transportation, they just,
They're very
it's everywhere.
creative.
Yeah, and I don't know how they must have to fill up the tires every time. Here's some pictures of some ladies, and there's actually a gentleman with the blue, in the blue part here, carrying things on their heads. There's a bench. She's carrying a bench plus something else on her head. So that's just culturally that's what they're doing. Here's an example of trading places are like little shops, little storefronts that they have, and I mean they sell everything: fruits, mangoes, papayas, goat on a stick, lumber. What else? I mean,
Well, they're
bed frames.
in places like this. This is like on the shoulder of the road. It's dirt, and there'll be everything from a butcher shop to rebuilding motorcycles.
Yeah.
Right there in the dirt.
But there's thousands and thousands of these places.
And these people are very poor, but they're very resourceful, and they work hard. So they're making it work for themselves.
Yeah. This is an example, very typical. This was actually, I think we took this in Nabisoto. Very typical home that you see, made out of clay bricks. Has a dirt floor. Sometimes it has a door, like this one does. A lot of them don't. They often have a separate little cooking hut where they do their cooking over fire. Okay, that's how they cook there. Here's another example. You can kind of see like the huts with the grass roofs. That's also very typical there as well. And this is just, wouldn't you say most of the people live in these kinds of dwellings?
Yeah, most of them are
there.
individual little homes. That little thing there is maybe the size of this area in this corner.
Yeah. And yeah, this is a toilet. It's a drop hole in the ground. This is actually a very clean one. But, and this is how, like the kids at the school, they have water that they flush down the toilet area. Now, we do have running water in the guest house, okay? But just for the most part, this is the kind of toilet that they have. Okay, so Navi Soto, this is the best part, is talking about our experience in Navi Soto. So when you're first going in, there's a sign welcoming you, talking about the primary school, and it's already talking about the boarding area as well. The whole, we call it a compound. It's all walled, has wall, whether it's metal fencing or in this front part stone. And there's a gate, for cars to go in, and then the door that the kids go in and out of when they go home. So their whole idea is, integrity, doing what is right when no one is watching. That's why they call it Integrity Primary School. This is a picture of us walking up to the actual guest house. And then in the front area is a part where John and John did a lot of work on different parts and that kind of thing. This is on our first day when we arrived. This shows some of the school buildings that are there. I actually was, when we got there, I was impressed with how big the compound was. It was so much bigger than what I envisioned. They have it laid out beautifully. They've just done a really nice job, I think, with the layout and what they have there and what they're building. And I asked John and Kimberly, what was the first thing that you built here? And it was a small building that they could lock up to house like their tools that they were using to build things. And then now they have several school buildings, several homes and dorms that we'll show you some pictures of too. This is and a clinic, yes. This is Shayla. So they have signs like this all over the grounds, and this was Shayla's favorite. Life without Jesus is like sauce without salt.
They take their salt very seriously.
They do.
They like salt.
But it's great. They have, things like that around, just to inspire the children. And then all around on the buildings, they're using it as a learning environment. So they'll have, picture of all the bones or parts of the body, or they'll have numbers or a map of Uganda. So they're using the whole school, as, the outside of the buildings as a artist palette, I guess.
Yeah,
a teaching tool.
They have an artist that they use that comes in and paints these things for them and does a great job. Maybe you'll see some of the pictures later inside the dorms also that the artist paints.
Here's just some more pictures. Here's a playground, and that is the actual new kitchen that they're building. So right in front is where they're feeding the children now, and they have some little stoves that they're using. But inside this is where...
Should I talk about that for a second?
A little bit.
So the old kitchen has, they cook with wood on a concrete, looks like an altar kind of, where you have the wood underneath, and then you heat the mash that they make for the kids. Porridge, yeah. And so when it comes to boarding, they're going to have more meals that they have to prepare for kids. Today, now they just make them a lunch, right? And
well, they have like a breakfast and then a lunch.
They have a breakfast too, yeah. So the stoves that they have now, they're literally cracking and falling apart. And so this year there was a call went out from them to provide money to build new stoves, and they also a similar format using wood as well, but they're much more efficient. They're actually designed for efficient burning because they're getting low on having to find wood. The kids are required to bring a stick of wood every day to school as part of their homework, and that's for cooking the meals. And so the new stoves will be much more efficient in using much less wood, and they'll be higher volume that they can cook as they start to board kids.
This is Nurse Sharon, part of the medical clinic that she's on campus all the time to help with the kids and any burns or snake bites. There was a snake bite recently. So this is the girls' dorm right here, okay? It's not inhabited yet. They're ready to go. I think they're hoping in February to get it going, both the boys and the girls' dorm, and have boarders in February, okay?
Because that's the beginning of their school year.
Yes. So this is the inside of the girls' dorm. all the bunk beds are ready, and you can see the beautiful art. Oh, the art is so amazing. This painter has just done a super job. And Kimberly wanted flowers, and there's just beautiful, bright, cheeriness, in the pink beds. It's great. Here's some more flowers, and where they have desks set up. This is the bath facility, so where the toilet and the showers are. And John will share a little bit more about some work that he did there. This is the boys' dorm. So they gotten started with, they have a few bunk beds. They need some more, and I think they were going to Kampala to go and get that recently. This is some of the artwork that is being done. It's all soccer themed, just football, sorry.
It's a very nurturing environment. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's JJ. This is the painter. He's the artist. So he's the one that's doing all the artwork there. Kimberly's giving him lots of quotes to put up on the walls, so he's done that. Okay, but the main experience about Navi Soto that we love, and that is the emphasis, is it's all about the kids. I mean, they built this school for these kids to learn, to have a place to go and learn, and a place that's safe, and a place that they can get love and cared for. So we have lots of cute pictures. I only brought a few. I think this is a little Rihanna. She's a little Spitfire. Super sweet, though. Oh my gosh, we love them so much. I did bring this. I'm hoping that this will be able to play. They have chapel on Fridays. Every Friday, and the kids lead the worship in the front. You can see them, and they are so into it, and they love it, and I just love looking around the room and seeing these kids just praising and worshiping God. So we'll see if this actually plays. Just no sounds, you have to imagine.
This is an English song. They sing both in English, and Uganda is their local language.
But the kids are they're leading the whole thing, so it's really amazing. This is Rosemary's, is that Annette too, Shayla? I think that's Annette.
Yeah.
Rosemary's on the right and Annette's on the left. And it's just so beautiful seeing them worshiping and loving God and just being there, in His presence. So that's one of my favorite things, is going to chapel and church with the drums and dancing. And
there's a lot of dancing.
A lot of dancing. It's great. And then we were there one evening when Kimberly and John have started a tradition of giving the teachers that have been there for 3 years Bibles. And such a blessing to see that. And they're like these study Bibles, or they'll give, individuals. Gave one of the cooks a Bible in Ugandan, okay, because that was, she's more versed in that than in English. But this was during a staff praise and prayer night. And this is teacher Jennifer, getting a Bible from Kimberly. And here's just a picture of some of the teachers, and the guy with the guitar is teacher Dan. So that's who their Sunday school lessons went to. And this is when the sun sets. Yeah, from the guest house, actually, is where we saw that. So, okay. So John is going to talk briefly about some things that he did while he was there.
Okay. They have available in Kampala, they have a cheap version of IKEA with all kinds of furniture. And so various things that they've collected over time, they hadn't built yet, and there's no instructions, no pictures, and so it's kind of like a puzzle. So that's one of the first things John and I did was figure out the puzzle. So we had a little fun with that. That's in our screened-in porch in the guest house. So we're doing a lot of this work. And so here we made another item was a closet for the matron in the girls' dorm. Is what that thing is there. Did a little tune-up work on the primary generator that all of the electricity there were off-grid, and so we've got solar panels on the roof, battery banks to store that, and then a backup generator here that with us being there, a little bit more demand on the electrical system, we had to run this thing a couple hours a day. And also, if it was cloudy, made a big difference in what the solar panels would put out. So anyway, we did some tune-up on this thing, and it was generally operating quite well, though. Here we are working in the girls' bathroom, bathhouse, finishing up the plumbing to prepare it for operation there. So we installed these are the squat toilets, but they have the flushing tank right behind my head. There is the flushing tank. So we installed all those tanks, and then had a few problems, so we had to actually be working right there in the toilet. And but fortunately, they hadn't been used yet. So so that's what they look like there. It's actually a very nice. It's a beautiful setup. So along that row, on one side of the building is all the toilets, and then the other side of the building is all the showers. They collect rainwater off the roofs to use for bathing, and then we have 2 wells on campus as well that is used for drinking and cooking. It's good water. Here's working on the boys' dorm, doing some wiring, standing on the top of the ladder with no safety gear, of course. And I was glad that I was able to be here for John in doing a lot of this stuff, because his back by noon, he has to go ice his back during lunchtime, and then by 4 o'clock, he just can't work anymore. And so standing on a ladder like this, he just can't do it anymore. So I was able to do a lot of this stuff. We got the boys' dorm all wired up, inside and out. So that was a huge accomplishment. We're very happy about that. So that's what I'm doing there. Included working up in the attic, which was probably 110 degrees as well. So I did all that stuff so that he didn't have to get up in there. Getting to be an old guy working like this is difficult because you have to use the bottom of your glasses. So you're really getting your neck up there. So it was hard on me too. Here, this is the boys' bathroom block that is just a foundation. Behind us in the background there is the girls' bathroom, the little peak of the roof above the worker in the background. And so this is just starting the layout of the plumbing. And John had an idea and had already bought most of the fittings, but then of course you're short a fitting or two, and so it was helpful for me to be there, having done a lot of plumbing, for him to bounce, well, we could do it this way, and we could save a joint here, and so on. And so we laid it out together. And then he has workers that got going on it and accomplished a tremendous amount of work on this facility. Had all the plumbing, the rough-in plumbing done, concrete floor poured, and we're starting walls before we left. Construction is mostly of the red clay bricks. Where the rebar is, they'll make concrete pillars to support the majority of the load for the roof, with keeping in mind, structural integrity. My knee, we'll get to that. And here you can see now the floor's poured. So all the rough-in plumbing's done, the floor's poured. That's all hand. They mix sacks of concrete by hand and spread it out. Then they've got the walls started. Here's John and I doing some electrical work. Working on the truck here. We just miscellaneous mechanical stuff that I can do. Oh, this thing. This is a portable generator. Last time John was gone during the spring, he had let his construction staff use it, and they had somebody else come in to help them. The somebody else supposedly filled this diesel generator up with gasoline and then tried to run it. So here we were trying to work on it and fix it, and there is where we got to. We did find the problem, though. It did actually, the running gasoline in it had cracked the piston. And so right the day after we left, they were able to get the parts in Kampala and get it repaired. This is our Ugandan lathe. John and I had to fabricate some tools in order to work on that generator, so got to be creative there. There it is. It doesn't show up really well, but my knee's all puffed up there, and that was not even the worst of it. Fortunately, it wasn't that painful. I was just playing soccer with the kids, egging them on, telling them to steal the ball from the old guy, and I fell down and banged my knee and didn't think anything of it. And then 4 hours later, it felt funny. I looked down and the knee just went whoosh, and swelled up. So, but God was good to us. It wasn't that painful. I was always able to bear weight on it and so on. And it was, I broke the bursa sac under the kneecap, and all the fluid came out and just swelled up like crazy. So I had fun playing soccer with the kids.
So right before we got there, they had started this math competition between the Team Crushers, which were the older kids. It goes from baby class, which is like really little ones, 2-year-olds, up through P7, which is like 7th grade. And so Team Crushers were the older grades. Then Team Miracle was like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And then Team Genius were like the baby class. So they have a baby, middle, and top class, which are like preschool, okay, and kindergarten. And so they had this competition going where they were learning math facts, whether it be addition, counting at the really little stage, or division at the upper stage. So we got there in the middle of the math competition. So one thing that we did was test the younger kids, their identification of numbers, if they can count. And so that's where the 2 comes in. So we'd be testing these little tiny kids, right? They're like 3 and like little pious. Like, okay, let's see if you can count from 1 to 10. And he'd be like, 1, 2, 3. And seriously, it was that loud. It's like, okay, let's talk quietly. 4, And it's just hilarious. So, and they would just, because I think in the classroom, that's how they do it. They have to shout it out or whatever. So, but here we are, we're testing them, and the kids got in on that. And I know, Kimberly and I went in this classroom, and this was like the baby class, and he was in there all by himself, just sleeping away. I don't know where his class was, but they were somewhere else, and he was just so tired. So, while I was there, Kimberly and I did we worked with the younger classes, and the kids worked with them too, and just teaching them their numbers, trying to get them to identify numbers, label them. Here I am trying to teach them that 8, like I ate it, with the circles, and I ate. Anyway, they never got it, but just trying some different ways of teaching them. Kimberly and I came up with some learning stations, so we would split the kids up into those stations to try to teach them their numbers and one-to-one correspondence, with blocks. The kids were able to help out with that. This is a little girl. This is PC. She has Down syndrome. Super sweet. Oh my goodness, she was so proud of herself. And I guess she doesn't talk a whole lot, but she was like, I finished. And she had stacked the blocks, not with the correct amount of numbers, but she was so proud of herself that she had finished it. She'd come up to me like, I don't know, every 2 minutes, after adding more blocks, I finished it. And she was so wonderful. And I think it's so great that she's there, and she's there at the school, and I think she walks to school by herself, like around 2 miles from her house, because she lives kind of way out. So these kids have to be very independent.
And they come to school at 7.
Yes.
And they leave school at 6.
Yeah, the little ones leave a little bit earlier, and it's 6 days a week too. And it's not something that Kimberly and John have instilled, but it's a government proposed educational thing.
What time does it start?
The daylight's
7.
about 12 hours, so sunrise to sunset's about 12 hours.
So this is me with, I did some one-on-one tutoring almost every day with some of these kids, and some of them have some pretty, like Katana here on the right, this is like her first time ever having a selfie. So when she saw the phone, you know, when I was taking the picture, she was like, oh my gosh. You know, just hearing about her and her backgrounds where her family thinks that she won't amount to anything and that she's dumb and they don't expect anything out of her, and to see her actually doing some math, and she actually has some good cognitive skills, so I was able to hopefully discern that, you know, for the teachers, and then just making some breakthroughs with some of these kids, because some of the classrooms are very big, so being able to work one-on-one with them and helping them learn how to count on their fingers, you know. Some of the teachers were very grateful for that because they don't have the time to do that one-on-one with such huge classrooms that, you know, I was able to go in and help them do that. Something else that we did was a lot of inventory and organizing. I like to do that kind of thing, so I went through all the dresses and stuff that they give to the kids. They give them like 1 or 2 dresses a year, and so the kids help me inventory all of that. Okay, Shayla.
So this is peace and blessing, I think. So we went on a walk our first couple of days there, and I got to have a head start in meeting some of the kids, and these 2, right after they met me, they instantly like grabbed onto my hand. And so that was really sweet getting to know them. And then, so one of the main tasks me and Josiah had while we were there was doing math games, which was practicing for the math competitions. And so we worked with Team Miracles, so 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, and they would all line up and split into teams, and then we had a bunch of math facts folded up, and they were doing addition and subtraction. And we would hand them a fact, and they would race up to the board and do it. And so it was really fun watching them being able to actually do that and stuff, because was it this year they just started? Yeah, this was the year they just started doing that, because before the 1st, 2nd, 3rd graders, even the 6th graders, they didn't know their addition facts. That might do.
Yeah, how we dry our laundry.
Yeah, and then practicing, yeah, I was invited to play games and stuff, and I got a picture of the teachers. And I hung out with them on their breaks, and they loved it.
They love they love the attention.
Yeah.
The kind of attention that they get. All right, teacher.
All right, so this is me with the P6 class, or the boys' P6 class.
Primary,
And-
6th grade.
And during lunch, we did Legos. And so that was kind of fun to see their creativity with that. Here's Shayla with the P6 girls. So, and then the picture. Here's with all their creations that they made. And yeah. Then here I'm playing with the kids. They have a little play set, so it's kind of fun. They really like me when I go on it with them.
They do like you.
Here's playing, I forgot, what was it called?
Fire in the woods.
Fire in the Woods. They have to like call, say P6, and P6 all has to run, and they have to tag them, and there's a bunch of games like that we played with them, so it was pretty fun. Nope. They play without shoes. So, and then this is how they mow their lawns and cut the grass, is a pinga. A pinga is basically a flat metal bar that's a little bent at the end. and you have to swing it around with your arms and cut the grass. And
That's how they do it.
I tried it, and I wasn't very good. So I'll just stick with lawnmowers.
They get the kids have to help as part of their chores around the campus. One of them is to mow the grass that way.
Okay, we're going to quickly go through some of this. So this is Hannington, wonderful manager that they have at the camp. We would spend evenings with him, and we'd eat together, with Kimberly and John, and we'd often play games in the evening. Going on walks was often a pre-dinner activity, so we got to see some of the community and meet them. I know I got something in my throat. And sometimes, a lot of the kids would go with us on our walks, and we'd go and one time played soccer at a field. And this is with a lot of the teachers and some of the kids there that reside at the compound and the teacher housing. This is a field of squash and bananas, and here's a little boy wrapping up some twigs. Okay, so I'm going to show you one last big story is about Pofia, and that's the next picture. It's a hard to see, so if anyone doesn't want to see something kind of traumatic, then don't look. But this is a little girl in the community, and her name's Pofia. She does have a smile on her face in here, but she has some significant disabilities, and she lives with her home, and her mother has to work out in the field. So because she doesn't walk, but she will crawl off, she has to be tied up, as you can see by the cloth there. And I wanted to specifically go see Pofia, so we stopped there on one of our walks and found her. She was naked because she's not toilet trained, so they can't put clothes on the bottom of her. She was laying on a rock with flies all around her. She acknowledged we were there. She smiled when we, interacted with her. But it was very heartbreaking, as you can imagine. And we're like, what can we do to help her and her family? So one thing that they're doing now is some people have donated some money to give her family some rice, to have some food for her. And then what Kimberly was just talking about, which is so amazing, is that social worker is coming out to meet with the family and see if there's something else that can be done to help them. Her sisters do go to the school, but her mother has to work in the fields, so she wants to keep Pofia safe, so she has to tie her up. So it's just the way that it has to happen, unfortunately. But just keep them in prayer for sure. This is Catherine, just something shining and bright, after that picture. We did go on a safari. I'm just going to breeze through this 3 days out in the Murchison National Park up in the north end of Uganda. So these are some of the things that we saw when we were there. It was a wonderful thing to do. Yeah, he was actually yawning there. He wasn't growling at us. There's some issues, some African things. The ferry wasn't working, so they would take all day to fix it. And it was just something, you just kind of go with it, right? Go with the flow. And then we did that kind of in the middle of our time there. And then one thing we did was, we went on a walk again. This is Rosemary teaching Josiah how to make a pinwheel. And then we went with them to see where they got water. The kids after school get their jerry cans and they go and fetch water in this swamp pond area. JJ's here. You see him helping carry that. Now, this is Shayla. How many years ago, Iola, was this? I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. She was at Awana when Kim and John came to Awana and was teaching them about carrying water cans on their head. And so Iola had this picture of Shayla doing it however many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And then she actually, you can see her in the background, actually carrying water for real in Uganda. So we thought that was kind of special.
The kids can get water at the school where it comes from the well, and it's good, clean water. But often their houses are quite a ways away, and it's closer to go to the swamp. And
that's where they get the water.
That's what they do.
But yeah, I carried one of the full-size jerry cans, and I was soaking wet by the end of it, and it was super heavy. So
Super heavy.
yeah.
Amazing. This is one of the little girls carrying a jerry can that was with us on our walk, and this was Rosemary and her grandmother, super sweet, gave us hugs, and because JJ brought the jerry can to Rosemary's house. So we had to say goodbye, and it was super hard. This is Shayla with a few tears in her eyes, saying goodbye to teacher Evelyn. One of the teachers there, they had all the kids gather on the lawn, to sing to us and say goodbye. And this is them walking away. And then here we are in Kampala, ready to leave. So what now? What can you guys do? So I think, the biggest thing is to pray. For one thing, pray about your involvement with this ministry. Pray for Kim and John. Like they said, pray for their backs. Just pray for their ministry. Give them wisdom about where it's going to go. Pray for teens to go out and help them. They do need that help. It's so hard. Even when we left, Kimberly had to do this testing all by herself. With the teacher's help, of course, but it's so much easier when there's a team out there to help. So pray about your involvement to go and to help. If you guys are feeling led to go, talk to Kimberly and John and see about that possibility. We highly recommend it. I think we will definitely be back. I don't know when, but definitely would like to. Or you can also donate money. If you find books like at Goodwill or Costco or whatever, they're looking for readers for kids ages, mostly the upper grades, 2nd grade and up, more easier books to read. That was one of my jobs was switching up books in all the classrooms as well. They need donations to finish the dorm, and they need to build a security wall around the dorm also. That'll cost $10,000. So if you have the means and the heart to donate, then all of it goes towards that. Like our trip, we paid for all the costs. We paid for our airplane. We paid for the food that we used when we were there. So all the things that you donate actually go to the ministry and into the building or whatever that they're using the funds for.
John and Kimberly, they fund themselves as well.
Yeah.
So the money that you donate goes to the kids.
Yep.
100%.
100%, which is, amazing.
Yeah.
"26 years since I was in Africa, and it was awesome to be able to share it with my family. So I thank the Lord for that. So we'll just close out now and then sing. So Lord, thank you for the opportunity for my family to go and to experience service for you in a different culture, a different environment, but still people, just people that we met that love you, brothers and sisters that we will spend eternity with. So we got to meet some of them early, and so we're grateful for that. And once again, grateful for the vision that you've given John and Kimberly, just to touch this tiny little community in the middle of Uganda. And thank you that all of our church body here can be a part of it. And we ask that we'd be faithful in uplifting them in prayer and in donations and in going. Thank you for the opportunity here to share and to spur people on to this. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.